One of the things that I've spoke about for a very long time is see whenever you use sort of underhanded, sly, mob rule sort of measures in order to control what people can and cannot say by, threatening them with various punishments, be that, criminal prosecution or losing their jobs, that it would always be used against the very people who were doing that. If you engage in shitty behaviour and you try and justify it, well, then that exact same shitty behaviour can be used on you and then also justified because obviously everyone has different justifications and different reasons for believing what they are doing is right. And we've got another example of that happening here. British doctor's career could be ended by tweets defending trans rights. Dr. Adrian Harrop, a 34-year-old GP based in Liverpool, told Vice World News that he believes he was the victim of an organised and orchestrated campaign, as most cancel campaigns are. Whenever someone wants to get someone fired or etc., these things are organised, orchestrated, coordinated and everything because it's a bunch of people banding together to try and destroy the life of a person because they were offended for a couple of seconds over something that they said. A British doctor who used social media to defend trans rights could lose his job because of complaints about his posts. Dr. Adrian Harrop, a GP based in Liverpool, is currently going through a medical practitioners tribunal hearing regarding his conduct on his Twitter account, which he dedicated to speaking up for trans lives. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, anything you say in your personal time is your business. It's none of your employer's business. So I don't know why they are harassing him over something that he posted on his own personal Twitter account. The tribunal, which started this week, is expected to run for the next 3 weeks, and it could potentially end with Harrop being suspended or having his name erased from the medical register, making him unable to practice medicine. Speaking exclusively to Vice World News, yeah, Vice. But yeah, well, yeah, that's one to tell the grandkids about. Spoke to Vice once. Ahead of the tribunal, Harrop said that he believed he was the victim of an organised and orchestrated campaign against him by gender critics. However, he does regret using social media in the way that he did. Well, he should not, because that is what they want, right? Don't regret speaking your mind. Uh, I can achieve so much more by just being a doctor than arguing with anonymous people on Twitter, he explained. And that's true. I do spend a lot of time arguing with complete idiots on Twitter, and it helps no one. However, the people watching the argument, they find it wildly entertaining. And a lot of them kind of lose a little bit of hope in humanity when they realise just how fucking stupid some people are. But yeah, the gender critics obviously he's talking about like the TERFs, the trans exclusionary radical feminists. Now the problem, and that we're definitely seeing a lot of, is feminism and the trans movement cannot coexist. I'm not saying that in any sort of like spiritual sense, like in a philosophical sense, yes, because their philosophies are wildly different and contradict each other massively in a very huge way. Which is why you're seeing so many feminists and trans people all butting heads with each other and always arguing online all the time, even though they're all on the left. All of them, they're all on the left, in many cases, the far left, but they don't get along because their ideologies are opposed to each other. Then they don't mesh and they don't mingle, which is why you're seeing so much of them attacking each other online all the time. And you know what I say? Let them fight. I shouldn't have wasted as much time and energy on that toxic platform as I did, but I still believe it is a genuine moral responsibility for privileged people to stand up for trans rights. Oh, very nice. Well, you do it then. You do it. You're doing it on Twitter. That's fine. We've got that part covered. Don't worry. Someone's dealing with that. The same way socialism works. All right. Someone else will deal with that. What do you mean there's no food? The 34-year-old gay man splits his time between working as a GP for a practice in Liverpool and working for C-Magic, a gender dysphoria service which was set up by NHS England to cut down the waiting times for trans people who need medical support. We look after a huge number of transgender patients, he told Vice World News. I have well over 100 who I supervise the medical treatment of, including gender-affirming hormone therapy. I wonder what the ages of some of these patients are. If you've got having a trans 8-year-old is the same as having a vegetarian cat. We all know who made that decision. While transgender healthcare continues to be debated in the UK, especially when it relates to people under the age of 18, Harrop is on the front line, and this, he says, is why he felt the need to be so involved on social media. Doctors do have a powerful voice to share, and they should be able to use their voices to bring about positive societal change. What I didn't realise is that on social media, everyone is under constant scrutiny, including by people who want to go against them in bad faith, he says. And yes, I deal with bad faith people all the time, so I know what you mean. And yes, fucking Twitter and the internet is essential, depending on where in the internet you are. It's World War One, right? It's World War One, and if you want to poke your head out the trench and have a little peek, and you want to say something, maybe you'll get to sit back down comfortably, and maybe you'll get your head blown off by a sniper. That's just the way that the internet is, right? If you want to talk and say your opinions on the internet, well, I fully believe that you can. Yes, I believe that you should be able to voice your opinions on the internet. However, some people will have a very adverse reaction to the things that you say. So what you can do with me is you can take the piss out of them and not really care about it, because see what you're going through right now. That happens to me constantly, all day, every day. Or you can be quiet about it. However, I advise not being such a little bitch. Like, don't be quiet about it and keep saying it. Even though, I don't know much about this guy's opinions, but I've got a feeling that we would disagree on a hell of a lot of things. However, he still should be able to voice his opinions. The most foolish thing that I did was allow myself to get too drawn into a lot of fragile and vulnerable people arguing with each other. The General Medical Council's guidance for doctors' use of social media states, you must make sure that your conduct justifies your patients' trust in you and the public trust in the profession. Fucking hell, man. That doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for the things that doctors are allowed to say. Just make an anonymous account. It continues, you must be prepared to explain and justify your decisions and actions. Serious or persistent failure to follow our guidance that poses a risk to patient safety or public trust in doctors will put your registration at risk. The tweets in question, which the General Medical Council received hundreds of complaints over, involve Harrop fighting back against online bullying, as well as him responding to transphobic statements and retweeting pro-trans statements. So obviously, I've got a feeling that, our good doctor might have done a little bit more than that to draw the ire of the General Medical Council, because with the way things are, there's absolutely no way they're going to give a doctor any trouble for being pro-trans and saying pro-trans things in the current climate. No, that's the ruling ideology right now, right? That all that stuff is in every single institution. There's no way that they would fire him for that. So I've got a feeling that there is something else that happened where he's maybe got a little bit mad and insulted a few people and said a few other things, and that might be the source of it. However, I don't know. We'll need to wait and see what happens with the tribunal. The witnesses and tweets involved in the case are currently being kept anonymous, but Vice World News was sent all of the material being discussed at the tribunal, including the full dossier of allegations, witness statements, and documents defending the doctor. From the 10th of May 2018 to the 23rd of November 2019, you inappropriately used your Twitter account to post tweets that were offensive, and that's the fantastic thing about that, is you, the good doctor, do not get to decide what is and what is not offensive. In this case, the General Medical Council do. So even though you're like, it's not offensive. It's not up to you, it's up to the council. And see, just by that alone, any company can fire you for absolutely any reason, because offence is completely subjective, and or insulting and or inappropriate in nature, reads the charges letter from the General Medical Council. The letter goes on to list 15 charges against Harrop, all related to people holding different views to him on transgender issues. Among the charges that Harrop used his Twitter account to intimidate critics by revealing information that could identify them, right? So I've got a feeling that he's one of these people who, whenever someone gives him shit on Twitter, he goes and finds their Facebook and gets a picture of them and tweets it and shows everyone what they look like. But yeah, I've got a feeling that is what he did. Because I've dealt with people like that before, and I've seen a lot of the lefty verifieds doing that to people. That's just some of the court documents there. I am not transgender myself, but I'm a fervent supporter of transgender rights. His defence statement reads, and that's cool. Transgender people have the exact same rights as everyone else in Britain. They do. Name a right that transgender people don't have that everyone else has. Name one. Name one. They've got the exact same rights as everyone else. And that list is getting shorter and shorter by the day. Strongly held views on both sides were being advocated via social media platforms, including Twitter. I engaged in that debate. These sparring matches could be humorous or mischievous or aggressive and antagonistic, he continues. A number of individuals in campaign groups whose ultimate aim, I believe, is to undermine, if not erase, the rights of transgender people deliberately chose to follow me on Twitter and to read and respond to many of my tweets, he writes. And yes, that's what happens whenever you advocate for a particular thing. The people that you will find mostly in your mentions is the people who disagree with that thing. For example, a lot of the people that hate me hate freedom. Yeah, they really hate freedom. Freedom is kind of antithetical to how their ideology works, so that's why they don't like me. They also made repeated complaints about me, he adds, noting that some of them even pretended to be different people in their complaints to his superiors. Some encouraged others to do the same, even posting templates of what to write and directly linking to his boss's email address. Oh my god, that's quite funny actually. One woman who led the complaints against Harrop, who claims that the gay doctor bullied her online, tweeted that he was a sick degenerate. Claiming he and his ilk are a danger to children, so I've got a feeling that maybe I was right about the ages of some of his patients, possibly, maybe, who knows. The journalist and broadcaster goes on to claim that the work done by UK trans charity Mermaids is child abuse and compares the organisation to the Nazis, and there is a lot of dodgy stuff out of Mermaids. Basically, some kids might be acting, some boys might just act a little bit feminine and not really know if they're a woman, and some people for Mermaids are like, you're a woman, you're a woman, you're a woman, you're a woman, you should transition, you should transition. Basically, they're not sitting back and letting the kid figure it out themselves. Like sexuality, think the kids might be gay, well, fucking who knows, only they can figure that out. So I say leave them to fucking figure it out and don't try and guide or force their decision. But Mermaids seems to have been doing a lot of that. She continued, if witch burning were still a thing, if witch burning were still a thing, the faggots would be piling up around me. Facing backlash from her followers for using the offensive word, she claimed it's not meant as an insult to gay people, though. If the woman is Scottish, then okay, because faggot in Old Scot basically meant an annoying woman or child, and then it evolved into mean anyone who was annoying. So in Old Scots, faggot just means, stop being a faggot means stop being annoying. However, if she's not Scottish, then yeah. The same woman promoted a petition against gay pride at Disneyland in the summer of 2019, claiming LGBT is not for children. The petition received 105,000 signatures in 24 hours, but the Pride Parade was not cancelled. However, does a parade about sexuality have a place at Disneyland? Yeah, I don't think it does. Vice World News has seen further evidence of social media users, some with over 500,000 Twitter followers, encouraging others to send abuse to Harrop and to make official complaints against him. In response to one of his tweets, a user posted a photo of a hand making a gun sign and then deleted it, saying, "All I did was post a funny gif. Taken out of context, I guess it could look like a death threat." I've got a feeling some of these people follow me. A tweet from February 2019 called Harrop Baby Shipman, referring to Harold Shipman, a doctor who is believed to be one of the most prolific serial killers in the UK history. Nah, not believed. He did it. Come on, look at the evidence. Harold Shipman did it, but that's a story for another time. And a snivelling shit before the user claims Harrop has form. I've reported him to the GMC. A tweet from July 2021 targeting Harrop explains to another Twitter user how driving an extra 1 mile per hour could literally kill someone, and to think about who you want to run over. I'm not sure what that means. In October 2020, Harrop decided to close his Twitter account because it got a bit too much. The scale and intensity of the abuse and harassment and threats I've been receiving, both on and offline, has stepped up considerably in recent weeks, he wrote at the time. His tweet continued, I am going to take a step back from Twitter for the foreseeable future for the sake of my safety and sanity, and hope that I can just be left in peace. Harrop has not used Twitter since that day, and he never came back to Twitter again. A professor who Harrop reported to during his postgraduate training gave a statement to the General Medical Council regarding Harrop's behaviour online. She notes that following receiving a number of complaints about Dr. Harrop's use of social media, she held 2 meetings with him in 2018 regarding his posts. I expressed my concern regarding the style and tone of some of Dr. Harrop's tweets and stated that I could understand why some individuals may feel that Dr. Harrop was being aggressive, she adds. And come on, let's be completely fair. Let's be completely fair to Dr. Harrop. Twitter brings that out in you. Right? I mean, if someone goes, I went on Twitter and got mad, of course you did. You went on Twitter. That's what happens when you go on Twitter. Today, Harrop is deeply sorry for the negative implications of his tweets, even in the face of extreme abuse, both then and now. I never imagined that I would give my regulator cause to investigate my fitness to practice during my career, he says. Asked how serious this tribunal is, Harrop told Vice World News, it's extremely serious. It's the most serious thing that can be done to a doctor in this country. Ultimately, the tribunal will be deciding whether what I've done and what I've said deems me unfit for practice as a doctor. If that's the case, they could give me a warning or a suspension. The worst that they can do is to strike someone off, effectively erasing them from the medical register. But I think the likelihood of that is virtually nil. Yeah, I would personally, he shouldn't be getting any punishment at all for what he did. Harrop is aware that some people will not understand why he cares so much about protecting the transgender community when he's not actually transgender himself. He has effectively put his career on the line for what he calls his moral debt to the trans community. I've been out and open about my life since I was at university, about 18 years old, he said. I learned early that if you're in a privileged position, which I am as a gay, white, cis doctor, shut the fuck up, you need to stand up for people. If people hadn't stood up for the likes of me when we were little, fighting against really intense homophobia, there's no way that we could be so open and loud and proud now. That's ultimately what I felt I was doing when I was doing this, and I try my best to do that in the most effective and positive way possible. By soft doxing the people you were arguing against. I'm sure that made them love gay and trans people. It is his long-held belief in equality and his deep understanding of trans lives that has led to Harrop being at the tribunal today. If it can happen to me on this issue, it could happen to any other doctor commenting on any other important societal issue. Not just any other doctor, Harrop. Anyone. Absolutely anyone. But the problem that we have with people on the left is the overwhelming vast majority of people on the right say any opinion, no matter how unsavoury, can be stated. And what will happen is on the left is people will say, oh, you of course, you can state any opinion you want, except that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. But of course, you can say any opinion you want, except this one too, and this one, and this one, and this one. But of course, you still have free speech, except for that, and except for that. And you get the idea. He warns that racism, climate change, whatever, people say things online because they believe they're right, but if the debate shifts, they may come to regret it. Asked what he would like to say to the gender critics and transphobes who may read this, Harrop paused for a moment before calmly and confidently responding, "You will not win." Well, I don't know, man, you left Twitter. It sounds like they won. He continued, I want them to understand that they make up a small minority of people who have extreme views. Self-awareness check. Although the battles you're fighting on social media may seem like you're winning, you're not. Today, the doctor will start being cross-examined by the General Medical Council's barrister based on the evidence and statements that have been collected. Harrop told Vice World News he feels nervous, as anyone would be in this sort of situation. He continued, ultimately, I've been entirely honest and transparent about everything, and I have nothing to hide. It's now my opportunity to give my side of the story, and it is a relief to be finally to be able to get out there and on the record. Now, as for what happened to him, being a little shitlordy on Twitter. Now, even though I promise you a lot of the opinions he has, I do not agree with, right? Even despite that, he should be allowed to voice these opinions. Did he get a little bit mad on Twitter? Did he shitlord it up a little bit? Maybe he got really angry and called someone a cunt. Yeah, whatever, it's fucking Twitter, that's what happens. Man shouldn't be punished for it. I don't see just because someone gets like a bit fucking angry on Twitter, oh man, guess that means that you can't do medicine anymore. Oh man, I can't believe you sent that tweet that deleted all the knowledge from your mind from medical school. Like, nah, right. Man got a little bit angry on Twitter. He absolutely should not be in front of a tribunal for this. Even though I definitely do not agree with what he's doing if he's working with like mermaids and stuff like that. The man should still be able to speak his mind. So, but however, like I said before, if you advocate for, being able to use mob rule to bully down a person and stop them from speaking, well, then you don't exactly have a leg to stand on when it's used against you. And a lot of people are starting to do that to the left. I did warn you.